The standard is 8.EE.7b, equations whose solutions require expanding expressions using the distributive property. And our essential statement is I can solve multi-step equations. So here's the deal. If you're in my class, then I put in 2 notes into 1 page of notes, so it will look a little bit different. But if you're not in my class, just disregard what I just said and continue on with the lesson. So we're working on multi-step equations today. So there's a couple things that you need to know. Sometimes multi-step equations will involve using the distributive property and then solving for the unknown. Not only will you need to use the distributive property, but sometimes you'll need to use the distributive property, then combine like terms, and then solve for the unknown. Okay? So again, here we have, let me move this down so that you can see. So on the left-hand side, I kind of put in a couple of hints that you need to know or refer back to if there's something that you forgot while doing a problem. Okay, so the first thing, is distribute. You must distribute, all right? You must distribute if you see parentheses. The next thing is you combine like terms if you need to on the same side of the equal sign, okay? And then you would follow the steps for 2-step equations. If you saw my previous video on how to solve 2-step equations, I lay out the steps in complete detail. And lastly, you just solve for the unknown. So we're going to do 4 examples today in this lesson, and hopefully it helps you out, okay, to understand how to solve multi-step equations. So always, whenever you see an equal sign, what do? You draw a line down the equal sign. So let me actually read the problem first, okay? 3, open your parentheses, z plus 4, close your parentheses, is equal to 21. So we need to solve for z. So whenever you see an equal sign, you go ahead and draw that line. The next thing you need to do when you see parentheses is take the number in front of the parentheses and draw your arrows. Okay, the arrows signify multiplication and distribution. And multiply that to everything inside the parentheses. So 3 times z is 3z, 3 times 4 is positive 12, and that's equal to 21. And now it's just a 2-step equation. Find the side with the variable. Find the number not attached to the variable and perform the opposite operation. Whatever you do to one side, you must do the same thing to the other. 12 minus 12 is 0, so that goes away. And 21 minus 12 is 9. And then you bring down what you didn't use. So 3z is equal to 9. And then again, you follow the steps. Find the side with the variable. Find the number attached to the variable this time and perform the opposite operation. Now, normally the last step to solve for the unknown is to divide, because this is multiplication, so the opposite of multiplication is division. So whatever you do to one side, you must do the same thing to the other. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and thus z is equal to 3. I will try to go a little bit slower on the next example. I know, my bad, I can sometimes talk fast, but luckily you can pause the video at any time and rewind it if you need to do the problem again. Okay, whenever you see an equal sign, draw a line down that equal sign. So we have 140 is equal to negative 5. Open your parentheses, 2 minus 5m. Close your parentheses, and we are solving for m. So we see a number in front of the parentheses. We're going to take that number, draw our arrows to signify that we're multiplying and distributing. So negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Negative 5 times negative 5m is positive 25m, because remember, a negative times a negative does equal a positive. And then we write down the 140 on this side. And now it's just a 2-step equation. Find the side with the variable. Find the number not attached to the variable and perform the opposite operation. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. Negative 10 plus 10 is 0. That goes away. 140 plus 10 is 150. And then you bring down what you didn't use. 25m, positive 25m. And the last step is to divide, because that's multiplication. So we need to divide by 25. Whatever we do to one side, we must do the same thing to the other. 25 over 25 is 1, so that goes away. And then 150 divided by 25. Now, if you want to use a calculator, feel free, but just think about it this way. How many quarters are in $1.50? Well, that is 6. So 6 is equal to M, or M is equal to 6, because that's just nicer. So M is equal to 6. Now remember, a couple ways that you can double check your work. You can take whatever your variable is equal to and plug it back into your equation to see if this is indeed 140. And if it is, your answer is correct. And if it isn't, that probably means you went wrong somewhere, and just double check your work. Okay, moving on. Now these problems, of course, look a little bit more difficult. Yes, and they are a little bit more difficult. So you definitely have to be very careful when you are doing your work to make sure that you see everything and don't miss a negative, for example, or don't miss combining like terms, or don't miss a variable, so that you can solve the problem. Okay, again, whenever you see an equal sign, go ahead and draw that line. I know that's a little crooked, but that's okay. I should use a ruler next time. So we have 3, open your parentheses, x minus 2, close your parentheses, plus 4x is equal to 22. Now we're going to go ahead and use these steps over here, these arrows that I have. So the first one is distribute. Whenever you see parentheses, you know you're distributing. So I'm going to take what is directly in front of the parentheses and multiply it to everything inside the parentheses, and only inside. This 4x, pretend it doesn't exist for now. Okay, so we have 3 times x, which is 3x, and we have 3 times negative 2. See the sign, negative 2. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And pretty much you're done distributing. So then you just drop down what you didn't use, which is the plus 4x and the 22. And now you have this, okay? Yeah, this kind of looks scary, but that's okay. We'll work through it. The next thing we have is combine like terms if needed on the same side of the equal sign. So on the left-hand side, you see that you have more than one x. So we're going to do what we did previously. Okay, using your prior knowledge, circle the first term. Do I have any more x's on this side? Yes, I do. I have a positive 4x, so I'm going to go ahead and circle that as well. And then I'll just box the last thing. So then we combine the same shapes. So we have 3x plus 4x, which is 7x. And then I didn't use the negative 6, and then I didn't use the 22. And now this is just a 2-step equation. Find the side with the variable, find the number not attached to the variable, and perform the opposite operation. But whatever you do to one side, you must do the same thing to the other. So negative 6 plus 6 is 0, that goes away. 22 plus 6 is 28. And then we drop down the 7x. And we have 7x is equal to 28. We will divide, because that is the last step, the opposite of multiplication. 7 divided by 7 is 1, so that goes away. And 28 divided by 7 is 4. So x is equal to 4. Now I know that was a lot of steps, but to get to this part right here, there's 2 things you technically have to do. The first thing is to distribute, the second thing is to combine like terms, and then these steps are the 2-step equation steps that we've been working on for like an entire month. So hopefully they are in your head now, in your mind. So, let me use There you go. Look how straight that is. Using a ruler is so awesome. Okay, yes, this problem is really hard. I understand this. So we'll work through it together. Now, 115 is equal to -2 plus 3, open your parentheses, -4a plus 7. So here's the deal. Some people will want to add -2 plus 3, but you have to remember the order of operations, PEMDAS, okay? The P is parentheses, that goes before the A, which is addition, okay? So you cannot add before you multiply and distribute out, so we need to get rid of the parentheses. We take what is directly in front of the parentheses, which is the +3, and we distribute it to everything inside the parentheses. So we have +3 times -4a, which is -12a, and we have the +3 times the +7, which is +21, and we bring down what we didn't use, and now this looks like this, where we have to combine like terms on the same side of the equal sign. So I'm going to go ahead and circle the -2. Do I have any more just numbers? Yes, I have the +21, and then I have the -12a left over. So -2 plus 21 is 19, and then I bring down this, which is -12a, okay, and then I bring down the 115. So now this is a two-step equation. Okay, notice how I brought down the -12a. That is super important. If you forget a negative, it messes up your entire problem. Okay, draw a line down the equal sign. We already have it. Find the side with the variable. Find the number not attached to the variable and perform the opposite operation. Whatever you do to one side, you must do the same thing to the other. 19 minus 19 is 0. That goes away. 115 minus 19 is 96. Sure, feel free to use a calculator if you would like to do so. And then we drop down what we didn't use. Notice how I dropped down the -12a. I accidentally forgot it in one of my classes, and then the class had to remind me. But that's okay. See, sometimes we forget. Even I forget. So just be very diligent, be very observative. Is that even a word? I don't know. Observe the problem, okay, so that you can not forget your negatives. So we have 96 is equal to -12a. The last step is normally to divide to get rid of that number, but whatever you do to one side, you must do the same thing to the other. So we should kind of know our 12s, okay, our multiplication chart. So that goes away, and we have 96 divided by -12. A positive divided by a negative is a negative, and 96 divided by 12 is 8. So our answer is -8 is equal to a, or a is equal to -8. All right. Well, those were a couple of examples. Hopefully they made a little bit more sense. If you have any more questions, please feel free to let me know.